time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Brad Miller as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives here in Yavapai County. And now, here's today's Countywide.
Welcome to Countywide. I'm Paul David. Good to have you in studio with us today. We're going to be talking with Arizona Game and Fish's Shelly Shepard about do's and don'ts in boating and ATVs and off-highway vehicles and life jackets. I mean, we got a bunch of stuff here to talk about.
A lot of things, yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure how we're going to get through it all, but I think we'll start with boats.
Okay, sounds good.
Because I've noticed now the weather's warming up, so people are taking the boats out and getting them cleaned up. ATVs are getting cleaned up, and so people are going to be definitely back out and about again.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Anything new in the boating rules, the regs, since last year when we talked to you that we should bring up, or?
No, actually, nothing really new, especially folks that maybe have been boating for a handful of years. Nothing major. Hopefully we get a chance to talk about the quagga mussels a little bit. I think that's kind of some recent things that people need to be aware of. Okay, well,
what are some of the common mistakes people make when they're on the water in their boat? I mean, we can see a bunch of stuff we have here that you have to have on your boat, outside of course the helmet and stuff. But
the major things to remember is your safety equipment. And typically when we patrol the waters, and we're not the only agency out there actually doing watercraft enforcement. Some places in the state people may see some of the county sheriff's deputies out on the water. When you get along the Colorado River, in Havasu, Bullhead City, you may even see the police departments out on the water. So primarily what we're looking for is the safety equipment, the registration on the boat. And so when we make contact with somebody, we will start looking for all of the equipment, and that's going to include life jackets, or what we call PFDs, personal flotation devices. You've got to make sure you've got one on board for everyone that's on the boat, and they have to be properly fitted. And the best thing is when everybody's starting to get ready right now, the weather's warm, go through all the life jackets you've had on the boats. Sometimes people have had them for a long time.
I was going to say, is there a way to test that to see if it's still any good? Outside of throwing yourself in with it on.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you want to do that test, you can. The thing to look for is when they start to fade, the material will get real thin, and if it rips real easy, that's not good. If there are any tears in them already, you might as well just pitch them. It's not a good idea to try to stitch them up. They're not that expensive. The best thing is go get new life jackets for everybody on board.
Okay, and you brought one here that you definitely brought up, and it's the child one. I'm going to hold it up. You tell me what makes this.
This is a type of PFD that is great for smaller kids.
And why is that?
It's got the neck support, so if they do end up in the water, it will keep their heads from going back, and these jackets typically will keep their heads from going forward. It keeps you in a good body position that your head will stay above water. The other thing about these small little infant life jackets is they have a strap that obviously will go around the waist and then through their legs. So the chance of them sliding out of the jacket like this is almost impossible. So this is great to have. The thing that we find sometimes with adults and their kids on the boats is kids uncomfortable, not wanting to stay in the life jackets. And the law requires that anytime that boat's moving, any kid that's 12 and under has to be in a life jacket at all times. So if they get cranky and they want to take a break, go somewhere on shore, let them roam around for a while, but as soon as you get back on the water and you start going, get them, they got to be in their jackets.
If the kid's above the water, then put a jacket on them. If the kid's on the water, put a jacket on.
Yes, absolutely,
period.
So
that
life
sounded weird, If your child's above the water, I guess if he's not above the water, he's in trouble.
Yeah, we have some trouble.
This square one. Now, I've had Game and Fish actually board a boat that I've been on twice now down at Roosevelt Lake, and this one seemed to be what they were most interested in, both times for me.
And what we look for on this is any boats that are 16 feet and longer in length have to have some type of throwable device. And a lot of times this is the typical thing you'll see is the cushion. Now, years and years ago, we all may remember those big round ring buoy things. We don't see those on boats as much, obviously, because of the size, the weight. They're really hard to kind of put somewhere in your boat. The cushion is great, has the handles. We do have some that we were giving out at a certain time, but again, these are, you can pick these up anywhere at your sporting goods stores. And again, 16 feet and longer, you got to have a square cushion. Sometimes when we make contacts with people on their boats, they say, well, my cushion's on my boat float, and they're considered flotation devices. That's great in case of an emergency, but you have to have a throwable device.
Do you know
This is
why,
the common one.
why there's the limit in the length? Why it has to be if the boat's 16 feet or more?
The potential of maybe more passengers on that type of boat, potential of somebody going over, and it's easy to toss out to someone. That's the main purpose of it, is get it out to someone. I think when we're looking at some of the smaller watercraft, your life jackets are going to be good enough, and probably smaller watercraft means less people on board. So. Got to have something to throw. And the last thing is the fire extinguisher.
Yes.
And this is a little bit different on a different version of a fire extinguisher. The main thing about fire extinguishers on boats is there are different sizes for the different length of your boat. The other thing is that on the labels, we require that they are marine type approved.
So before you buy one for your boat, make sure it at least has that on.
Yes, you've got to look for marine approved, and this one is not.
Okay.
And it will say right on the label that those are the approved ones for a particular boat. I think it's the chemical makeup inside in the fire extinguisher.
Okay.
The other thing about fire extinguishers that a lot of people forget, and this is kind of getting ready, check all your life jackets, make sure you have all the cushions. On the fire extinguishers, like the one I have today, you can see that the gauge shows it in the green. Some of the other types of fire extinguishers out there just have a little push button for a test. It's always good to give it a few good shakes, then do the press the button down, and if it does kind of pop back up, you know that your fire extinguisher is still good. If it's slow, the button doesn't even work anymore, it doesn't have a button, it's time to go out and get a new fire extinguisher.
Gosh, that's the thing you wouldn't even think about checking until you need it.
Yep, and that's when we end up on the water, and somebody's got the boat on the water for the first time, this year, and we do the safety check, and the fire extinguisher
fuel line's
sometimes
not hooked up right or something.
Yep, something comes up, and a lot of people ask, well, we're on the water, and all we'll do is bail out. But there are times that people have utilized their fire extinguishers for minor fires on a boat.
They wouldn't go down with their ship.
Well, no.
That's what they're saying, huh?
Probably not.
Unbelievable.
I guess not.
All right. This real quick, the flag. This is kind of a handy thing to have, especially your water skier or tuber or whatever on the boat.
And if you are going to be towing anybody behind the boat, you have to have a flag. The other thing is, and you can see right on the flag, I think it says 3 to go.
Right.
And that means you have to have an operator, you have to have an observer, and then of course the person in the water. So you got to have the flag to indicate when that person is in the water, so other boats can say, oh, hey, they've got somebody down in the water. Let's kind of avoid them.
Yeah, let's take a wide turn around.
Yes.
And you mentioned also that you have to, the person observing the skier has to be at least 12 years old.
At least 12 years old.
Okay.
That has changed, but it's been a few years since that came out. But there may be people out there that still aren't aware of that. We did change that to 12 years old. It was an age that we felt that somebody is capable and can observe somebody in the water and let the driver know or the operator know, hey, that person went down, and do the flag at the appropriate times. Because years ago, we had people that were, 3-year-old kids, and they're waving it, and and it just wasn't working out, and it wasn't safe.
Well, it becomes a toy.
Yes, it was.
Okay,
or a sword.
It's a pretty orange toy, or a sword, something like that.
Yep.
The quagga mussels. Look, before we do that, let's go OUI.
Okay.
Let's talk OUI real quick.
OUI is operating under the influence, and this is just like a DUI on the boats. Yes, you may be able to enjoy a little bit of an alcoholic beverage on your boat, but the main thing that I would really strongly suggest is if you're going to be the operator of the boat that day, don't drink at all. We do field sobriety tests while we are out on the water. We do wolf packs and OUI checkpoints on a lot of the big lakes across Arizona, so you never know where we may be. And the penalties are similar to a DUI. The one thing to mention is that it is not, it will not have an impact on your driver's license.
So if I get an OUI, it's not going to affect, it's not going to show up on my driver's license.
Won't show up on the driver's license, but you may see some jail time, you're going to see some fines, you're going to see some penalties. And it's an inconvenience, and we want it that way, so people will stop drinking and operating their boats, because a lot of our major accidents have been alcohol related. And when you start looking at places like Lake Powell and the Colorado River, Lake Havasu, those are what I would consider kind of big party areas. And so we really want people to be safe, and people get hurt and killed when they're on boats. It happens.
Let's take our first break. Shelly Shepard with the Arizona Game and Fish Department in studio today. When we come back, I want to ask you a couple more questions about the OUI. Stick around. Countywide will be back in just a couple minutes.
Here in northern Arizona and throughout Yavapai County, people count on Orkin Pest Control. With over 100 years of combined experience, nobody knows how to protect your home or your business from harmful or annoying pests like the Orkin Man. To start service, contact your Northern Arizona Orkin Pest Control. In the Verde Valley, call 567-5100 or Orkin Pest Control in the Prescott area at 775-8772.
Hi, I'm Steve Scourgy with Yavapai Silent Witness. Marcel Gonzalez was murdered on this spot almost 15 years ago, back in March of 1997. We know that there is somebody out there who knows what happened in the alley that night. Yavapai Silent Witness is offering an $11,000 cash reward for information that leads to the arrest of Marcel's killer. For Yavapai Silent Witness, I'm Steve Scourgy.
The pain will not control us. It will never break us, define us, or keep us still. Because arthritis can't beat us if we beat it first. In the fight against arthritis, you need a weapon. What's yours? Visit the Arthritis Foundation at fightarthritispain.org.
Getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. Go to discovertheforest.org.
Welcome back to Countywide. I'm Paul David. Shelly Shepard with Game and Fish in studio today. We're talking about do's and don'ts and laws and rules for boats and ATVs. And we finished off before the first break with the OUI, the operating under the influence if you're on the water.
Yep.
I had a question for you. Is that, okay, my wife and I have always planned on getting a pontoon boat and just kind of taking a couple of weeks and going up Lake Powell, and we do enjoy our spirits. So at the end of the day of driving around and doing all this exploring and stuff, our thought is, okay, we're going to find a nice cove, we're going to drop an anchor off the front, off the back, and just sleep right there on the boat, but then, you know, do a little fishing at night too. Yep. What do I do in that instance? Now I'm on the water, I've been drinking, the boat's not moving anywhere, but it's on the water, and so am I.
Well, and I think one thing to address is, you know, if you've been out all day long and you occasionally have a beer or whatever, I can't say for sure whether you would be impaired or under the influence, but just be careful of that throughout the day. And the scenario of, let's say, the pontoon boat, even the houseboat scenario works too, is if you are going to be done for the day, throw out the anchors. You've got your little side grill hooked onto the side of your pontoon boat. It's obvious that you're going to be there for a while and sort of stationary. I think putting out the anchors is one good thing to do. The other thing is, as it gets dark, remember to have lights on at a certain point in time. But you know what, Powell's kind of an interesting scenario in itself too, because a lot of those coves and a lot of those beach areas, that's where the boats end up parking anyway. And so there's a certain point where the lights aren't going to be necessary, especially if you're beached. Mm-hmm. But if you are out on the body of water somehow and it's just anchors, you do need to have a light on so other boats can find you. What else can you do and enjoy, let's say, a few beers or whatever? Take the keys out of the ignition of that particular watercraft, put them in the glove box. If you have any other sort of storage container, storage area, it's best to put the keys in that type of area, because the possibility of you physically being in control of that watercraft is much more unlikely because of where the keys are located. Okay. And that would be the best thing. Otherwise, you know, you're on a boat situation, there's nowhere else you can put them. Like with a vehicle, you could set them outside the vehicle or whatever. In this case, you can't, because you'll drop them in the water. Mm-hmm. So take the keys out of the ignition and keep them in a very safe location. Maybe you can even explain, if anybody does ever make contact with you, well, they're actually in this box, and here's a little key for the box. Make them as hard to get to as possible. Okay. That would be smart.
I feel like we need to switch to the ATVs.
Oh boy, okay.
But you wanted to mention the quagga mussels, so let's hit that real quick. Lake Powell, I know you've got that checkpoint now.
Yeah, there's, if folks aren't aware of this, the quagga mussels, the zebra mussels are in a lot of the bodies of water around Arizona, and this is what we call an invasive species, and the thing for people to remember is to inspect their boats thoroughly. These little guys are teeny tiny.
Like I've heard a grain of sand, almost like it feels like there's
yeah,
sandpaper
it's just
on
going
the
to feel
boat.
real rough on the bottom of your boat, and that boat needs to be inspected when it goes onto a lot of the big lakes in Arizona. Lake Powell's a perfect example. Our boats get inspected when we go up to Powell as well, and it is the boat owner's responsibility to make sure there are no quagga mussels, because if there are, you're not going to get on the water and you're going to receive a citation. So, you know, be aware of what's going on with our invasive species, because they're really messing things up.
Keep them clean.
So,
keep the boats clean.
Keep the boat clean, yep. And we do have a boating guide for folks that need more boating information.
That's pretty
this is
handy.
available
Sorry.
all over the state. So if anybody has more questions, pretty much everything from operation to how to register your boat, decals, safety equipment, it's all in the boating guide.
Yeah, it'd be good to keep in your glove box.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, keep it on board.
All right, let's move on to
ATVs and
'cause, yeah,
OHVs.
those have become so popular. It's amazing how popular
Yes,
they are.
the amount of use with ATVs and OHVs has increased. I think we're looking at 300% since the mid-90s. So these vehicles are all over the place, and there's actually a lot of information to hit. And what I'll do is I'll kind of go through some safety equipment first, probably.
Yeah, let's just like we did with the boats.
Okay. With the helmet, you can see the helmet in the goggles here. The requirements are that anybody under the age of 18 is required to wear a helmet whenever they're on an ATV or an OHV, let's say. The eye protection actually is required for everyone. So it's when you hit a certain age, you can opt out of a helmet, which I think is kind of a silly decision, but it's a personal choice at that point. So
let me ask you this: the goggles, sunglasses work just the same?
Sunglasses will work the same.
So as
yeah,
long as you have something over your eyes.
Something over your eyes. So
Okay.
if somebody wears glasses, those will work as their eye protection. Those are kind of the two major things to remember and mandatory as far as safety equipment. Now we've got some gloves today. It's always smart to wear good pants, long sleeves. You don't want to go riding around on an ATV in flip-flops. You know, protect your body as much as possible. I mean, because a lot of people think, well, if you crash, but I'm thinking of when you're going down trails and there may be trees hanging over the trail a little bit, somebody kicks rocks up from an ATV in front of you, all of these things are going to protect you and allow you to continue to operate. So.
What's the number one problem you see out there when people are on their ATVs?
Well, there's a handful of things. It's equipment, drinking and operating, and a lot of the ATVs are made for only one passenger, and so people are doing multiple passengers on one ATV. Those are kind of the biggies. You know, I can't really address speed because it just does depend on the location and the road conditions that are out there. So I'd say unsafe operation is what we're finding out there.
Okay, all right. Now there's certain requirements I have to have on my ATV as far as when I purchase it in order to be driving it around.
Yeah, and this is if you're talking about the decal, I think is where we're going with this.
Yeah.
This is something new, kicked in 2009, and a lot of people may not be aware of the off-highway vehicle decal. And we've had good positive response to it. We've had some negative response. The main thing I'll address first is the off-highway vehicle decal is what we consider a user fee. This is money that is coming back to not only our department but other departments so we can get more officers out in the field, hopefully improve maybe some ATV areas that are already out there. May help us, you know, with things like this, the brochure, signage, those kinds of things. So the dollars are going to a good cause. A lot of people say, oh, I never see this money on the field, out in the field or whatever. And that's what we're trying to do. And right now what Game and Fish has done is we've picked up a handful of OHV officers and have placed them around the state. So that's one thing that we've seen a change on. The other thing is with the decal is it is required pretty much if somebody's going to be riding off-road. If we have an example, maybe somebody has a quad, they live in some of these smaller communities and all they do is take it from their house on pavement to the local store and back home, and they use it for maybe tooling around and running errands. That technically is not being operated more than 50% off-road. In that case, the person does not need the off-highway vehicle decal. Any other time, if people are going to be out tooling around in the forest, in the desert areas, off-road, you need to have the decal regardless of the type of plate that you have on your ATV.
Okay. All right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I hope.
let's take another break.
Okay.
Shelly Shepherd
Wow.
with the Game and Fish in studio today. I'm Paul David. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break and we'll come back and wrap up the program, basically. Stick around.
Here in northern Arizona and throughout Yavapai County, people count on Orkin Pest Control. With over 100 years of combined experience, nobody knows how to protect your home or your business from harmful or annoying pests like the Orkin Man. To start service, contact your Northern Arizona Orkin Pest Control. In the Verde Valley, call 567-5100 or Orkin Pest Control in the Prescott area at 775-8772.
About the dangers of prescription drug abuse. The partnership at drugfree.org.
Hi, I'm Steve Scourgy with Yavapai Silent Witness. Maricel Gonzalez was murdered on this spot almost 15 years ago, back in March of 1997. We know that there is somebody out there who knows what happened in the alley that night. Yavapai Silent Witness is offering an $11,000 cash reward for information that leads to the arrest of Maricel's killer. For Yavapai Silent Witness, I'm Steve Scourgy.
Every year, 2 million kids play doctor by taking pills not prescribed to them. Talk to your kids about the dangers of prescription drug abuse. The partnership at drugfree.org.
Welcome back to Countywide. I'm Paul David. We got a couple minutes left in the program. Shelly Shepard with the Game and Fish Department in studio today. Real quick, I can get a DUI if I'm out on a Forest Service road, dirt road, driving around out there, and I've been drinking, and if I've, you know.
You can, yes. I know a lot of folks think
same old, right?
It's the same as if you were driving a vehicle. The boat thing a little bit different, but the ATVs and
just because I'm on a dirt road doesn't make it a different law.
Doesn't make it a different law at all, no.
Okay, because you know, we're splitting some hairs here, but they get split all the time.
Right.
I had another one for you.
Okay.
And you found the answer for me. I was curious, okay, if I'm on my boat, and I've been out in the lake, and I haven't been drinking much, but I've had a few now, and I'm on my way back to shore, and I'm just kind of trolling along the shoreline, and I'm almost back to camp. Can I get an OUI for using a trolling motor if I'm going half a mile an hour?
You could potentially get an OUI. It doesn't matter, yeah. Whether it's the trolling motor or the big motor, you are in control of that watercraft, and if you have had a few too many, potential's there.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there again, there's another hair that's split. I've been splitting a lot, you can tell. What else? You before we ended the break, you said I needed to talk about.
The one thing to mention with people with the OHVs and the ATVs is be aware a lot of the forests across the state now, and currently up in the Flagstaff area, the Coconino National Forest, the Kaibab National Forest, the travel management rules are coming out.
May
and
1st.
So, yes, that is going to be some significant changes about access to certain roads. And anybody that goes out and uses the forest, whether you hunt, you camp, or you ride ATVs, the maps are out, the maps are available, and the best thing is contact the Forest Service that you're going to visit and find out where you can get their maps and get more information about the TM. It's called TMR.
We are actually doing a countywide on May 1st.
That'll be great. Yep,
so
everybody
that'll be
should
on our
watch.
Countywide program that day. Real quick, we've got 10 seconds. No wake. What does that mean? That's one of my pet peeves in the water.
No wake means that you cannot create any kind of wave action off the back of your boat. It's not necessarily a speed limit. It's just you need to be going at a very slow speed, not to create any waves off your boat.
Beautiful.
Comes in play at piers, docks, swimming areas, those kinds of things.
Right on. All right.
Yep.
Thanks, Shelly Shepard.
You're welcome.
Thanks for coming in. All right. I'm Paul David. That's today's Countywide. We'll talk to you again next time.
This has been Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Listen in each Tuesday and Thursday as we tackle the hot topics and talk to the decision makers across Yavapai County. That's Countywide with Brad Miller and Paul David each Tuesday and Thursday on this Yavapai Broadcasting station.